Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another weather forecasting discussion. My name is Morgan J. Fold. This evening, we're going to be talking about the almost countrywide impacts that we are going to be receiving from these next couple of storms, including severe weather, winter weather, as well as some high winds for the coastal areas of the Northeast. Severe weather is going to be likely for the next couple of days and could bring some significant hazards to life and property, spanning from the southern plains all the way into the southeast. Before we do get underway, however, I do ask that you guys do like the video, subscribe if you are new, turn on notifications because I'm going to start to get into these much more frequently, at least once a week, maybe twice a week if the time calls for it. Probably will be twice a week going forward. I've just been struggling to get my life together over the past few weeks with a couple things that have occurred to me from a unexpected standpoint and from an expected standpoint, so apologies for that. But I do plan to be getting into the swing of things here for real this time very shortly. So if you guys are new, if you guys are even returning, be sure to hit that like button to get me out onto more people's feeds. Also hit the subscribe button again if you are new. And we're going to get right into this because there's a lot of stuff that we need to be discussing this evening. So right now, looking at the middle of your screen, you guys can see an area highlighted in dark green as well as yellow. This is for a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather that is in place for overnight severe weather tonight, Wednesday into Thursday, the 16th into the 17th, for areas like Oklahoma City as well as Dallas-Fort Worth. You guys can also see that it doesn't appear for there to be too much going on right now, but there is a little bit of rain heading into the Dallas area, and if you guys take a look at the numbers highlighted in orange and yellow on your screen, that indicates the surface temperatures right now, and you can see the temperatures are pretty warm for this time of year, even for Texas standards. And additionally, associated with the low pressure that is going to be moving down through this area, producing all those thunderstorms, we have some snow bands that are currently moving through the Rockies and the Central Plains. These are going to continue to push farther south until it hits the freezing point, by which point it'll turn to rain. And by the time that occurs, as you get into the overnight, you're going to start to see some thunderstorms forming in the central Texas area as well as most of Oklahoma, excluding the Panhandle area. You're going to be expecting some severe thunderstorms this evening that are going to be capable of producing some damaging winds as well as some large hail. The SPC has highlighted 15% threats for damaging winds as well as large hail for this area from Dallas all the way up through Oklahoma City on a north to south standpoint, basically expanding from the eastern border to the western border of Oklahoma, southwestern border of Oklahoma, again excluding the Panhandle, and basically from Abilene to Dallas to the Texas-Oklahoma border if you guys are in the northern side of Texas. For tomorrow, Thursday, February 17, the SPC has highlighted a level 3 risk for severe thunderstorms as indicated by the ENH as well as the orange outline there, expanding from most of Mississippi to the eastern border of Arkansas, much of western Tennessee, and most of northwestern Alabama as well, for the threat of possibly some tornadoes, possibly some strong ones that is indicated by the black hatched outline indicating the significant tornado contour. Additionally, you have the threat for wind gusts. The SPC has highlighted a 30% non-significant contour for damaging wind gusts, although I wouldn't be surprised to see that upgraded in the near future. And additionally, there is a small chance for some damaging hail from Oklahoma all the way up through Ohio and down south into Louisiana and Alabama. So we're going to transition to the models to take a look at what really could be possible and how this is all going to unfold for areas like the south central United States as well as the southeast United States to really try and get an idea of what's going to happen with severe weather for the next couple of days, particularly Wednesday and Thursday. If you want to refer to times, they're at the top left corner of your screen, indicated in Eastern Standard Time. So looking right here, this is our bowling ball low pressure system, right? So this is this Wednesday afternoon. This is Wednesday afternoon what we're looking at, and progressing into Thursday morning, which is when the severe weather is anticipated, you see that the shear really increases quite a bit in that severe weather risk area of northern Texas and most of Oklahoma as well. This is the 500 millibar, so this is about the mid-layer, the middle of the atmosphere in terms of what you would be expecting. This is one of the main areas to look for in terms of wind speeds for severe weather. The more wind that you have ripping up there, the more severe thunderstorms that you're going to have to be able to develop. And at the surface, these storms will thrive in the upper portions of their respective storm from a lot of wind energy. So you can notice that there is a particularly significant area of wind shear getting all the way up towards 80-85 knots for portions of northern Texas and Oklahoma, but that's not even the worst part of it. It'll get more insane as you get into the southeast for Thursday. More to come on that. When you get closer to the surface, you see that the winds are not as strong initially, but they really pick up as you get into the overnight. So this is about 9Z, this is about 3 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can see that the wind shear is getting into the 60s, even the 70s in terms of knots at 850 millibars, which is just slightly above the surface. So there's going to be a lot of wind energy going on up there as well for enhanced thunderstorm development. This is likely going to contribute into elevated nature of storms. The capping inhibition tonight is going to really prevent any kind of really surface-based storms, but there's also a lot more to dissect with that, and that will also come later on in this segment. But the wind energy is definitely playing a big part here for northern Texas, as well as portions of southern Oklahoma, where we could be expecting some severe thunderstorms this evening. Taking a look at surface temperatures, as you get later on to the evening, things will definitely cool down a bit, but they'll stay warm enough for you to get some severe weather development. So thunderstorms are really going to initiate in this warmer area where the temperatures are in the 60s, as indicated by the yellows and light oranges. Those would be the main areas to watch for thunderstorm development. You're not going to get anything where it's in the 40s or 30s. There's just not enough energy for that. But there is enough heat at the surface to be able to get some sort of thunderstorm development. Again, cooler temperatures likely contributing to elevated nature. When we take a look at dew points, we can see they're pretty similar to the surface temperatures, which means it's going to be a very moist environment regardless of the lower temperature in these areas of northern Texas and southern Oklahoma. So it's something to keep note of if you're going to be in this area tonight. You could have to watch out for some thunderstorms, some of which could bring some heavy rain, significant winds, and some large hail. We're going to take a look at that as well now. So now taking a look at the surface-based convective available potential energy here for these portions of Texas, you can see that there is a corridor in central Oklahoma into northern Texas of just about 1,000 surface-based CAPE that develops for this evening going on into the overnight hours. So there'll be some energy to produce some severe weather, and there's definitely is going to be the potential for some elevated hail with this, as that lies to be one of the main threats here. So definitely something to bear in mind. Taking a look at the temperature at 850 millibars, which would be a decent indicator of where we could see some hail, you guys can see that the temperatures get really, really cold in terms of Celsius back behind this thing. So you're seeing temperatures getting to just about 50 degrees, which is definitely significant enough for you to see some hail if there's strong enough updrafts bringing enough cold air up into the storms. You can see particularly at 700 millibars as well that temperatures are sitting just about freezing in those upper portions of the atmosphere. So that's why the SPC has highlighted this area of northern Texas and most of Oklahoma for the possibility of some significant damaging winds with downbursting thunderstorms tonight, as well as some significant hail up through these areas of Dallas, Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, all the way through Abilene, Texas. Taking a look at where we could see the precipitation tonight, you guys can see as we get into about 10 p.m. Central Standard Time that we see some thunderstorms develop in West Texas, and as they move on into those areas of Oklahoma City and Dallas, that they really start to take it up a few notches. You can see that with the reds and yellows that are indicated between Oklahoma City and Dallas, Fort Worth. So that's the area that we're going to be watching for some significant downbursting winds and large hail, especially with the heavier thunderstorms that are embedded in that general area. So if you guys are in those areas, you need to watch out between about 12 a.m. Central Standard Time and about 4 a.m. Central Standard Time. You guys could be seeing some significant severe thunderstorms, which could bring down hail of up to 2 inches in diameter in localized areas. Taking a look at the amount of rain that could accumulate over this general area as these thunderstorms progress on, you can see that it really caps out at about 2 inches across these areas, as the thunderstorms aren't really going to be too long-lived. It's not going to be persistent thunderstorm activity for the entirety of the night, but definitely enough heavy rain to produce some localized flooding issues if you do happen to reside in lower-lying areas in these portions of Oklahoma, albeit there aren't many. At this point, we're going to transition over to the HRRR to look at Thursday, as it's been the better of the three convective allowing models in terms of forecasting what Thursday could really be like. So we're going to take a look at the 850 millibar wind speeds. You guys can take a look. It is a lot more significant than the plans. So you're looking at about midday, mid-morning now into the afternoon on Tuesday. Extremely strong low-level jet, especially as you get into the northern areas of Mississippi. You're gonna have the possibility to see a lot of explosive thunderstorm development, even with the low instability amounts in this general area, because of all of this wind energy that could be taking place over that area. In addition, the Cape advection all the way up into Tennessee will allow for some thunderstorms to form there as well, with damaging winds, I think, being the main threat in that area as you're not as close to the heat and the moisture. Taking a look at that heat, you guys can see as we get into the morning and afternoon on Thursday, it gets really warm. And the interesting thing about it, and I will go to show you guys this in a little bit, models may even be underdoing the heat on this, and I will get more on that. But just right here, you can see that you're getting into the lower to mid 70s at about 2 p.m. for these areas of Mississippi, even Alabama getting into the upper 70s along the I-20 corridor there going up into Birmingham. The heat doesn't really extend as far up to Tennessee, which is why I see a little bit more of a damaging wind threat there amongst other things, but the heat really starting to pump in these areas of Mississippi and Alabama, as well as even Louisiana and Arkansas, where you guys could see some thunderstorms forming in the early afternoon hours. Taking a look at what we could get in terms of the dew points and the moisture availability, you can see that they also kick up a few notches as you get into the afternoon on Thursday. So you can see dew points getting even scraping 70 for portions of Louisiana, but widespread you're seeing mid to upper 60s, a little bit into the lower to mid 60s for those western areas of Tennessee. So definitely something to bear in mind. You're going to be in a very warm and moist environment across the deep south on Thursday. So the threat for severe weather is just going to amp up that much if you get even warmer and even a little bit more moist in those general areas, regardless of what the models show in terms of instability. Speaking of instability, we're now going to take a look at what the surface-based cape could be for this general area on Thursday. So you can see that it gets up into the 1000s for most of the areas along the cold front, going from Arkansas all the way into Louisiana. Mississippi, Alabama, as you get closer to that cold front, you'll see values closer to 1,000, but it doesn't really appear to be all that much. And again, models could be underdoing this with the higher temperatures and higher dew points, so it's all to be determined. Observations are going to be very key for tomorrow morning going into the afternoon. In terms of storm relative helicity, which is the volatility in the atmosphere for Thursday afternoon, you can see that a decent amount does develop along that cold front as it pushes past the Mississippi. So you're getting values well into the 200s, even the 300s for portions of northern Mississippi, as well as, I'm going to switch back here, for portions of northern Mississippi, as well as all the way down into Louisiana potentially. So thunderstorms are really going to be possible all along this corridor as you get east of the cold front. As the cold front progresses east, the thunderstorm potential will diminish behind it. But the helicity and the volatility really just enhances it even more, the possibility that we could be seeing some strong severe weather going on into the afternoon on Thursday for these areas of the Deep South. Now, one thing that did pique my interest with this storm was the similarities that I saw towards a particular severe weather day that many people will remember if you are a big weather guy. April 27, 2011, the famous tornado event over Alabama. Taking a look at the position of this, there's a low pressure here, 992 or thereabouts, with the cold front extending basically on a north to south trajectory across the Deep South, across the Mississippi as well. There was snow on this side with the stationary front extending all the way up into Michigan in that general area. One thing to note with this is that there is a lot of similarity with it in terms of the storm placement. Taking a look at where the storm placement could be with the HRRR, you can see that it lines it up at just about that same area, pushing the cold front east to west along the Mississippi, producing thunderstorms over Mississippi, Alabama, with a lot of snow on the north end of it. Cold front just going down north to south, down the Mississippi, stationary front pushing up towards the north and east, towards the Great Lakes, producing a lot of snow. Again, I'm not making any direct correlation because this isn't a similar system entirely. The speed was much different, and the scenario in terms of the wind patterns were much different, as well as the instability. But it's just something that kind of intrigued me when looking back at this, that there are some similarities to a significant tornado day that we can recall pretty much very quickly if you do know a little bit about weather. Now, one thing I did say I wanted to mention was how I saw that models were running cold, and the reason that I saw that is because of this website. So this indicates the temperature error that there might be associated with certain model runs. So you can see as you get closer into the night, it doesn't really have too much of a difference. T stands for temperature, again, in the HRRR is the model there. But as you get into various suites of runs, you can see they're running cold. The blues represent temperatures below what excuse me, the blues represent what the models are saying versus what the actual temperature is on the surface. The models are running a good 5 degrees below in some areas, including Mississippi, where we're going to be seeing some severe weather on Thursday. Taking a look at different mid-range model runs, including the FV3, you can see it's running a widespread 5 degrees below for most of the deep south, even up into the Oklahoma and Texas region, where you're going to be seeing severe thunderstorms this evening, and that was the case with both the 0Z Suite and the 12Z Suite. It was even colder for those areas of the deep south. And on the NAM, there's absolutely no question about it that it is also running cold. You can see the darker blues from the deep south all the way through the southern plains, indicating -5 to possibly even up to -10 in terms of temperature difference compared to the models versus what we're actually seeing on the surface right now. So, whole lot of things to digest with this, whole lot of stuff to unpack with it, and a whole lot of different scenarios that could turn out being different than what we were originally expecting with this, especially considering we weren't really looking at temperatures these warm in mid-February associated with a storm like this. But definitely something to keep in mind that across the next few hours, tonight into tomorrow morning, the temperature correction on the models is going to be a big key into what is forecasted for the day on Thursday. In terms of other impacts that we are going to be expecting from this storm in particular, we're going to just touch up quickly on these. You can see some snow that does occur into portions of southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, but that's not even with the main system, that's just with another associated stationary boundary. As you get to this low pressure system, you see that the snow really starts to amp up on the northern side of the storm, cutting its way through Kansas, Missouri, and eventually into Illinois. You can see a lot of heavy snow from central Illinois northward into portions of northern Indiana and southern Michigan with this associated storm. Could see up to a foot plus, possibly, of snow in these general areas. You can also see the potential for freezing rain that is highlighted in the purple. Not a large corridor, definitely not as large as we saw a couple weeks ago with those associated storms, but some really, really interesting stuff going on with this storm. Very dynamic storm, something I haven't seen in this time frame. Not in the time that I've studied weather, at least. So snow, again, freezing precipitation on the north side of it, and you're going to have your severe weather ongoing from the central plains all the way into the deep south on the other side of it. As the storm pushes up into the northeast, the rain is really going to take its way into portions of New England as well as the mid-Atlantic. You're going to have some thunderstorm potential on the southern end of this, basically spanning from the Virginia area all the way into portions of southern Pennsylvania. Really not going to extend much more north than that because you're really not going to have the temperatures to support thunderstorm development. But because of how far north this storm goes, northeast really doesn't see a lot of snow from this. The northern areas of New York and Vermont could see some freezing rain, but really not a whole lot of snow going on with this. One thing that we're going to have to watch for, though, with this is the high winds. The National Weather Service in New York City has issued high wind watches for portions of Long Island as well as southern Connecticut, including this particular county in Connecticut as well as the majority of Long Island, including all of Suffolk County. Taking a look in these areas as you progress through the time frame, you can see wind gusts start to increase, and then they really take a turn for the worst. Friday night is going to be quite nightmarish. Rather, Thursday night into Friday morning is going to be quite nightmarish for these areas, particularly the coastal areas of Long Island, coastal areas of New Jersey even, and then the mountainous vicinities of eastern Pennsylvania, as well as even into the southern New Hampshire area. You're going to see wind gusts possibly topping 60 miles per hour. That's not the worst of it, though. As you get further into the day, or rather further into the morning, a lot of wind gusts start to get even worse. You're getting up into the 60s, possibly even close to the 70s here, as indicated by our key at the bottom, for the wind gusts along the southern Long Island coastlines, the New Jersey coastline, Rhode Island, even into eastern Connecticut, possibly affecting Cape Cod areas as well. Nantucket's going to get slammed by this. As you get towards daylight on Friday morning, however, the wind gusts will start to subside as the cold front eventually pushes its way out, and then that'll be just about that. You're going to get some streamlined winds behind that, but nothing really too significant until we get into another few rounds of clipper storms going on into the vicinity past the weekend for this area of the Northeast. Looking back to just those exact areas of the country, you can see some snow pushes through in a light clipper-ish fashion over the Northeast. But other than that, stuff gets pretty quiet for a little bit. The weekend's going to be quite nice for most of the United States, most of the contiguous United States, rather, with the exception being the Pacific Northwest, as they're always getting rain or snow, so they have to ruin the perfect pattern. That's very typical for them in the winter. But as we progress, Some snow could be expected over portions of the northern United States, including the northern plains all the way through the northeast. That's just typical with this time of year. You do get some more thunderstorm activity going on later past this weekend, so possibly talking about Sunday night into Monday morning, and then the potential for some more winter storms after that. But beyond that, it's really just trying to observe patterns. We're looking at this point into Tuesday of next week. This is about the point in which we really can't take much. Really have to just take it with a grain of salt at this point because of how inconsistent things can be with the GFS at this time frame. But overall, the main idea is that the stormy pattern will continue to present itself all the way through just about the end of February. You can see more storms that form. There is going to be the possibility that more winter storms form, more severe weather systems form. Snow is really not out of the woods for portions of the Northeast. You're getting close to the end of your winter season, however, so I wouldn't really expect too many more winter storm events if you guys happen to reside north of Pennsylvania and New Jersey, all the way up through Maine. Really wouldn't expect the most, but definitely some more still to come as you get into the next 5 or 6 weeks getting into mid-March. So with this being said, I think we have covered just about everything to talk about in this video. Again, we had a lot to discuss in this video regarding the severe weather possibilities for tomorrow as well as Thursday. But I do hope you guys enjoyed the severe weather analysis so that you guys can be prepared if this stuff comes your way. So again, if you guys did enjoy the video or find the information helpful, I do ask that you click the like button on this video to try and get my video onto more people's feeds. That's just how YouTube's algorithm works. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. I'm going to start to get into about a 2 video per week cycle here. So we're going to get more information out on a more quicker track than what I'm going on right now, because this isn't really helpful in the shorter term. But I'm going to start to really get into that starting about next week or possibly the week after. So you guys should stay tuned for that. So if you are new, subscribe, click the notification bell so you guys can be notified every time I either do a severe weather coverage live stream, winter weather coverage live stream, or post videos like this so that you guys can stay up to date on the latest weather that could be going on in the contiguous United States. But with that being said, that's going to be it for me. My name is Morgan J. Fold. Stay safe. We will see you next time.